Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, welcome. My name is Christine. I will list all my socials down in the description box. Now today we will be playing around with the Bperfect Sceptre palette. So if you want to see how I created this look, what I think of the palette, what are my opinions, then just keep watching. Okay guys, so you know we are here to test out the Bperfect Cosmetics Sceptre palette. I'm so excited. You guys know in my previous videos I have tested out Bperfect Cosmetics eyeshadow palettes and I love them. This is not my first rodeo. I actually have another one, which is the one before this one, that I will do a video on, but today we're gonna do the Sceptre, and this is what the packaging looks like. Now I'm obsessed with Bperfect Cosmetics, one, because the quality of the eyeshadow to me so far have been stellar, and two, because look at the size. Like, their eyeshadow palettes are massive and I love a big eyeshadow palette. So this is what it looks like in the front for the unicorn. In the back, this is what it looks like. It shows you a preview of all the shades, which is really awesome. And what do we have here? It says, throw away the rule book, use every color, wear your crown and reign. This is the Vivienne, so it's called Sceptre. The Vivienne palette contains 6 shades for shading and sculpting the face, which is really awesome. So not only is there eyeshadows in here, but there's also shades that you can use to sculpt your face. So we have Sculpt, Bronze and Contour for show-stopping definition, Parasol, Blush for the ultimate cheeky cheek, Blinding, Intense Highlight, create the ultimate highlight, Glazed, Rich Gold Skin Illuminator for a gorgeous gleam, Abyss, the ultimate black, and White Party, intensely pigmented white. There is 33 shades in a range of ultimate luxe textures, 25 high pigment matte shades, 7 scrumptious shimmer shades ranging from blinding pressed pigments throughout to memorizing duochrome, and 1 super sparkle pressed glitter. So you know me guys, if you aren't new to my channel, I am going to test out as many colors as possible for this eyeshadow look. I'm opening up this palette. Now I like that it has, you guys can see, bubble wrap in here, which is really good. So it protects the eyeshadows, and it is also individually wrapped itself. So that's really awesome. That's a great thing to point out. Opening up this plastic wrap. This is what the front of the palette looks like. Gorgeous, gorgeous packaging. Again, the back is the same as the unicorn where it previews the shades. Oh my God, opening it up, so gorgeous. It does have the little slip that most eyeshadow palettes have, and this is what the actual eyeshadow palette looks like. So gorgeous. I love that it has a big mirror too. I'm so excited to play with these colors. Everything looks just delicious to me. I love all these shades. Oh my God, I'm so excited. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull you guys closer and we're gonna start with a look. So now that you guys are closer, I'm gonna bring my mirror closer. I'm gonna start with Orange Peel, which is this orange here. Now I do have a little bit of concealer on my lids. That's the Tarte Shape Tape, just to cancel out the discoloration of my eyelid. And I will show you guys the kickback per usual. So that's what the kickback looks like. Not really a lot, but it coats on the brush really, really nicely. And I'm starting at the inner portion of my eye, but I am going above my crease. And you guys know when I'm working with eyeshadows, especially colorful ones, I like to take a little bit at a time just so I have more control of the color deposited. So that's what we have so far with this color. Let's continue. I'm taking a different brush. I love to use different brush per eyeshadow color. The reason why I love doing that, one, is because it prevents all the colors from getting muddy. If you're using the same eyeshadow brush, you're just blending all the colors together as opposed to having each individual color show on its own. So that's just a little tip. Next, I'm going to grab Canary, which is this pink shade here. Again, it coats on the brush really, really nicely. And I'm just applying this color directly next to the orange shade. Gorgeous color. Following that, I think I want to dip into purple. So I'm going to take this Purple Rain shade, which is this one here on the bottom. And I'm applying that directly next to the previous shade, which is the pink. I love working with the darker shades first, only because they're more prominent. That's a gorgeous shade. Let's continue. I think I want to dip into that yellow shade, which is called Bubble. So this one here. And with yellows, I love to blot on the shade only because yellows aren't as pigmented in general as other shades and they're a little bit harder to work with. So I love just doing like pressing motions as opposed to swiping. Of course, you have to do a little bit of swiping motions because you want it to blend, but the majority of my movements are pressing movements. So I'm just really pressing in that shade. Then I'm gonna grab the brush that had the orange shade, which was the orange peel. Grab a little bit more of the orange peel just to bring back the vibrancy of the orange while at the same time blending it in with the yellow. This requires little swiping up motions just so it blends in with the yellow. Now, as you can see, there is a little bit of fallout. So this is what we have so far. On top of the pink, maybe I'll go with a lighter pink. I think I'm gonna dip into that shade Cotton Candy, which is this shade here. And I'm applying this shade directly on top of the previous pink shade, which is Canary. Now, because this is a big fluffy brush, there is quite a bit of fallout, but this is normal for this type of brush. This always happens to me. This is just not this eyeshadow palette. It just always happens with this type of brush. Then I'm gonna grab the brush that has the Canary shade, which is the deeper pink, and I'm going to grab a little bit of the Canary and again, bring that color back while at the same time blending with the light pink shade on top, which is Cotton Candy, as well as blending next to the orange and the purple. And what I love about this brand is these shades, even though they're super vibrant, super colorful, they blend like a dream together. That is gorgeous. As you can see, the vibrancy in these shadows are amazing. Next, on top of the purple, I think I'm gonna go with a pink. So I'm thinking I'm gonna use Marsa, which is this one here. Kind of a cool tone pink. And again, I'm using a really big fluffy brush. Because this looks a little like too much pink, I think I'm going to mix it with Pruned, which is this shade here. So this is a purple. Then again, going back and depositing that purple shade that's in the bottom, which is Purple Rain. So this is what we have so far. What I want to do is I want to do the same process on the other eye as well as clean it up a little bit because there is a little bit of fallout. Maybe cut a crease and then we'll be right back. So now that we are back, I did the other eye off of camera as well as cut both of their creases, and we're gonna continue. I really want to use some of the shimmer shades because shimmers, they're kind of hit or miss in terms of eyeshadow palettes. So let's really test them out. Let's go and use this gold one, which is Crown. So this one on the top here. And with shimmery shades or glittery shades, you really want to use packing motions because they can easily crumble. And I'm going very delicate with it only because I don't want it to go onto the orange. I'm trying my best to keep it in that crease, that cut crease that I just did, taking a little bit at a time and just working this glitter on the lid. That shade is gorgeous. Let's dip into that pink shimmer, which is called Kiar. So this one here. And I'm applying it directly next to that gold shade. Here I am using, because it's a shimmer and not a glitter, you can use a little bit of swiping motions, but just be really delicate with it. So very small swiping motions. just because shimmers and glitters tend to be pressed in a little bit lighter than the other matte shades. So that is what we have so far. Let's dip into that purple glitter, which is that power shade up here. And I'm just finishing up that crease and blending it in with the matte purple that's on the corner. And with that, I'm gonna bring back the matte purple, which is the Purple Rain that's all the way here in the corner, and just make sure I use it together with the shimmer purple. Of course, you want everything to blend seamlessly, so you always have to like go back with the previous colors just to make sure it's blended. That is gorgeous. So what we're gonna do, again, I'm going to go off of camera so I can finish this up, apply my complexion products, and that way we can continue with this review. I'll be right back. Okay, so now that we are back and most of the look is completed, I figure we try out that sculpting color and the blush and the highlight. So we're gonna try the sculpting for the bronzer. This is what it looks like. I'm just going to take my brush that I use to bronze my face with normally, and I'm just going to, ooh. Now this, you got to be really careful because it gets dark. I think I applied too much, but that's okay. I'm just going to diffuse it a little. It is very cool tone, like you guys can see how cool tone it is. So if you're a person that prefers more warm tone bronzers, then this might not be the shade for you. You have to be really light with it, light-handed with it, because as you can see, I applied too much on that side. I had no idea. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can diffuse the other side a little bit with the Beauty Blender. Yeah, see, that's like really intense. Let me grab my Beauty Blender. And this Beauty Blender is perfect because it has some foundation on here, like leftover foundation. So I'm just going to diffuse it a little. This side definitely looks better than this side, but you live and you learn. If you are getting this palette and you are going to use the sculpt shadow, I would say use a really light hand. So just like barely tapping into it because it is pigmented. Okay, so that's as good as it's going to get. I don't want to mess with it too much. Let's grab a really fluffy brush and try out this blush. This is Parasol, which is this one here. And with my big fluffy brush, I'm going to, now I'm scared. So I'm just, and just lightly adding that shade on. Yeah, it looks a little muddy because I applied too much of that bronzer, but this side looks really nice. Okay, the blush is very pretty. Now let's try that highlighter. So the highlighter shade, there's actually two. It looks like there's Glaze and Blinding. So I'll show you what it looks like. This is more like yellow toned, whereas this is more like silver. So I think I'm gonna try this one, this Blinding shade. And it's definitely blinding. You guys can see, wow, that's gorgeous. I'm just bringing it down a little bit just so it blends in with the blush and it's not like one streak. Maybe I'll dip into the glaze a little just to blend it in. That's pretty. Oh, that's pretty. I just like to use a little on the tip of the nose and then a little on the bridge of the nose. Make sure it's blended so it doesn't look harsh. And maybe a little here, a little here. That's gorgeous. Okay, so before I give you guys a close-up of what I have here, I'm gonna tell you exactly everything I used. Before applying my foundation, I did use the Pixi Elixir. This is in, what is it called? Pixi SkinTreats Clarity Concentrate Clarifying Serum. Very long name. But I used this as a base before my foundation just because my face was super dry. So what I like doing is I like applying quite a few drops of this on my face and just massaging it into my face, and while it's wet, applying my foundation, just because I feel like it helps with the dryness of my skin. So I did this. For the foundation, I did use, this is the Charlotte Tilbury, the Airbrush Flawless Foundation. This is actually in the shade 7 Neutral. So I did that. The bottom portion of my eye, I will tell you guys what shades I used. I did dip into Waste, which is this neon shade here. With the same brush, I used all 3 shades. So I used Waste, I used Skydive, which is this one up here, and then I used a Depth over here. And I just blended it in with the purple. I also, in the very inner corner, I will show you once I give you the close-up, I used Bath Bomb, which is this shade here. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys a close-up. So this is what the shadow looks like. Easily becoming one of my favorite eyeshadow looks. And I did pair it with lip. What I used was NYX Lip Pencil in the shade Natural. So it's this one here. Then I used Kylie Matte Liquid Lipstick. This is in the shade Dolce K. So this one. And then in the inner portion where it looks a little pink, I used, this is Colourpop Ultra Satin Lip in the shade Fresh Cut. So this is like one of my favorite lip combos. I like that it has brown combined with pink in the inner portion. I just love the way it looks, and it's very neutral. Like, you combine it with really colorful eyeshadow and it just, like you see, it complements it well. So these are the 3 things that I used for my lips. These 3 things. Of course, I will list everything down below, but just giving you guys a heads up. And this is what the whole look looks like. I'm obsessed with it. I think it's gorgeous. I love how all the colors blended well together. So what do I think of the palette? Of course, I'm obsessed with it. I am not biased when it comes to Bperfect Cosmetics. They just have really good stuff. So all the palettes, all the eyeshadow palettes that I have tested out on my channel, you guys can see it in my review section, I've been obsessed with. This is no different. Of course, I will be testing out the other one, which is, I think it's called Manifest. It's the one before this one. So be on the lookout for that video. But in terms of this one, Sceptre, is it a must-have? Abso-freaking-lutely. I'm obsessed with the packaging, number 1. I'm obsessed with how big the eyeshadow palette is. The color selection, I mean, come on. I don't even have to tell you. It's such a good collection. A variety of colors. I'm obsessed with the fact that they have a big white, matte white one, and a big matte black. This to me is like a necessity. I feel like more makeup companies should be doing this because black and white are like the most used, especially when you want to smoke out your eyeshadow look, or if you want to make it a little lighter in terms of the shades. This is just like perfect. And I love the Sculpt color. It is on the cooler tone, so just keep that in mind. And you have to be really light with it. The blush is gorgeous. I love the way it came out. This is actually one of my favorite color blushes that I love, and it complements my skin very well. The highlighters, super brightening. You guys can see it's like blinding. That's exactly what it is. Okay, so in terms of the actual eyeshadows for my eye look, I used a total of 14 shades. Then this is not included with the Sculpt shade for the bronzing and the 2 highlighters, which I combined. So I applied the blinding first, and then on the bottom of blinding, I did apply some of the glazed. So I used both of those, and I used the blush. So for the eye, 14 shades, and for the face, 4. So a total of 18 that I used in the whole entire palette. So that's pretty awesome. I used basically almost everything, minus like all these neutrals here, some of the pinks. But you definitely got a good idea of how well the shadows perform, and you're able to make a decision whether you want to purchase this eyeshadow palette for yourself. I definitely recommend it. I think it's an amazing palette. The color selection is gorgeous. It has your warm tones, it has your cool tones, pops of colors, neutrals. Like, you cannot go wrong with this eyeshadow palette. I think it's freaking gorgeous. I'm obsessed with it. I'm definitely going to be dipping into this more often. In terms of this glitter shade, because the only one that's really like a glitter shade was this gold one. Everything else was more shimmer. If you're using this gold shade, just keep in mind to have a sticky base beforehand, before applying this shadow. So I would say maybe like a Tarte Shape Tape, or if you have an eye primer like P. Louise, definitely apply that beforehand and make sure it's still tacky while applying that glitter shade, that gold glitter. And use packing motions instead of swiping motions. But as you can see, it's gorgeous. It didn't fall off my face. It stayed on. It's intact. I have literally no complaints when it comes to this eyeshadow palette. I am obsessed. I hope you guys can grab it so you can be obsessed with it just as much as I am. With that being said, I will see you guys on the next one. Bye, guys.